Going on, everyone? John Matrix here, hoping you're having a wonderful day. Today we're jumping back into the world of the SCP Foundation with the Exploring series as our guide. We're going to be checking out Exploring the SCP Foundation, SCP-1739 Obsolete Laptop. So yeah, I don't know what to expect from this. I haven't heard anything about this one before, so I'm looking forward to checking this out and see what's up with this SCP. I wonder if it has, I don't know, just thinking about the coffee machine, I wonder if it's something along those lines where, you know, you do something with a laptop and it produces something, you know, manifests something, creates something, whatever, or maybe something along the lines of, you know, that rogue AI or whatever that was made in that guy's garage that sat there for however long until it was confined and is trying to escape. I don't remember what SCP that is, but anyway. So yeah, we're gonna check that out. As always, links will be down below in the description to the original video without my commentary and reaction, and to the Exploring series channel. I would highly request that you go over there and check out the original video, give it a like if you enjoyed it, and, you know, check out the Exploring series channel. He's got a lot of great content for the SCP universe as well as others, so check out his stuff. Give the guy a sub if you want to support him. Normally I do these reactions live for my YouTube members, so if you would like to come and join the discussions that we have before, during, and after, and just hang out and have a good time while we do these reactions live, there's a join button down below. You can check out the YouTube membership benefits that I offer and see if any of those have any interest for you. But regardless of all that, I just appreciate you guys coming and hanging out, watching the video. So let's get into it here. Check this here video out. Volume's good, let's go.
SCP-1739.
The old Dell.
Obsolete laptop.
Old Dell laptop.
If you are about to die.
Just a side tangent, you know. I used to work in IT for about 15 years, so I could pretty much bet that I have taken apart and serviced this laptop and any other form of like old Dell laptop from back in the day. So anyway.
Top. If you are about to die, but you could press a button that would instead kill a random person you've never met, chances are you would push it. This is, of course, an ethical dilemma, and although
that's taking a turn I did not expect. That's taking a turn that I did not expect. Save yourself at the expense of another. That is a very interesting moral dilemma.
You would push it. This is, of course, an ethical dilemma. And although most of the time in the SCP universe, the Foundation tends to gloss over ethical issues for the sake of the greater good, sometimes SCPs are focused on them. Today we'll be looking at an SCP that seems rather benign at first, but eventually we, along with the Foundation, will see how serious it is, and what an ethical dilemma it presents. SCP-1739 is, as the name suggests, a Dell Latitude D800 laptop, a model made during the mid-2000s. 1739 spontaneously appeared in Foundation containment on January 1st, 2004.
Interesting.
As is standard for many SCPs, 1739 is seemingly impervious to all damage, but more notably is a program located on its hard drive titled gofetch.exe. Upon opening this file, is
this like the precursor to World of Warcraft? So this is how the fetch quests got created originally? Is that really what the secret of this SCP is? Is the MMO fetch quest? The origins?
3 separate applications open, one located on its hard drive, titled gofetch.exe. Upon opening this file, 3 separate applications open, one being an input field requesting a date and time, 2 being a chat client, and 3 being a computer-generated animation. The input field requests a time and date, but it must be inputted in Unix timestamp format.
Interesting. I assume you put in your birth date. I assume that's what you enter, and then it gives you some kind of feedback. Probably lets you know when you're going to die or something like that. That's what I'm assuming. I guess let's find out.
Meaning a number of seconds that have passed since January 1st, 1970. The accepted range of times and dates.
I guess that wouldn't make sense then, because what if you're born before January 1st, 1970? You know what I mean?
format, meaning a number of seconds that have passed since January 1st, 1970. The accepted range of times and dates is limited, however, and only a time after January 1st, 2004 and before the current time will be accepted. If a time is entered between those two dates, the individual that entered the time will suddenly disappear. The chat client is used to communicate with someone in a parallel universe, who always utilizes the handle Isaac, followed by a number. Isaac only connects to the chat client after
the Binding of Isaac, literally. It's a great game. Interesting. So it talks to someone in a parallel dimension. I wonder if it then, that person just teleports them to that dimension. They can like actually get to know them, see them, or possibly, you know, do some, you know, evil, nefarious things, experiment on them or something like that. But that's interesting that this is kind of like a literal gateway to another dimension where you can communicate to someone else through. Strange.
With someone in a parallel universe, who always utilizes the handle Isaac, followed by a number. Isaac only connects to the chat client after someone disappears from entering in a time, and they claim that they are working for the SCP Foundation in a divergent timeline.
Interesting.
The timelines and universes are identical up until the point that the person in our timeline disappeared and suddenly appeared in theirs. Essentially, the laptop is capable of sending individuals back in time with limited range and suddenly creates a new timeline because of it.
What?
The third application, the computer-generated animation, shows a dog chained to a doghouse. After a time is entered in the first application, the animation changes to show a woman unleashing the dog and throwing a ball off screen. The dog proceeds to chase after the ball and is no longer in sight. After a period of time ranging from only 3 days or up to 7 months, Isaac suddenly disconnects from the chat client. When they do so, the animation shows the dog returning to the doghouse with the ball in its mouth, now deflated.
So the laptop is able to create divergent timelines based on who enters the information into the laptop and gets transported to their dimension. And then who, after that happens, someone named Isaac with a random number gets on the other side of the laptop, is able to communicate to people, and I guess informs them as to what's going on in this other timeline. And then an animation plays where this woman, lets his dog out of the doghouse, throws the ball, and then for whatever that extended period of time is, that's when they have to communicate with whoever this Isaac is in this other dimension. And then once this animation runs out, which I think he said was in anywhere from a number of weeks to up to 7 months, once that ends, the communication gets cut off. I wonder if that means that the timeline gets destroyed, and so they get cut off at that. Like, they literally get cut off because the timeline gets destroyed. Interesting. So like the laptop creates some kind of parallel universe timeline, but it's only able to keep that universe space alive for a period of time, I guess, potentially having to do with the information that was entered initially. And then once that time runs out, maybe that timeline just poofs, goes away, and then whoever was entered in there disappears, for real, they're dead. I wonder if they've been able to get anyone back before that happens. I'm assuming that's what happens,
Doghouse with the ball in its mouth, now deflated. The dog discards the chewed ball off screen, and the woman chains the dog back up. At this point, everything is back to the way it started, and won't change until a new time is inputted in the first application. So, what does all this really mean? As usual, we find the full story in the logs, as a researcher communicates with a couple different versions of Isaac using the chat client. In one branched timeline, created by sending a D-class back in time only 5 seconds, Isaac 67 discusses why the chat client always disconnects at a certain point. They rule it out being some sort of problem with the laptop. And later, he tells the researcher that the reason the chat client disconnects is because their universe is destroyed.
Yep.
Whatever the reason, the change in the timeline caused by the sudden appearance of an individual sent back in time causes the divergent universe to be destroyed.
Be unstable, and destroyed.
He speculates that the laptop is possibly meant to put people onto a sinking ship, so to speak. And he disconnects soon afterwards, suggesting his universe was indeed destroyed. Later, another timeline is created, and a new Isaac discusses 1739 and what it exactly does. Much of the dialogue here suggests that the researcher in our universe is communicating with himself in the other universe.
Okay, so that's pretty interesting too. So someone enters the time, they get transported through the laptop to another timeline. They have a certain amount of time before that universe disappears, and then every time the researcher who's working on the laptop at that current time, an alternate self of him is communicating back to him through the laptop. So they're bouncing ideas back and figuring out what the deal is with that. Interesting. I wonder if there would be a way to get that person back out before the universe gets destroyed and the timeline disappears, or if that's just like, I guess, kind of like what would be a natural thing that happens, I guess, when there's like a divergent timeline that gets created and the universe just becomes unstable because of that. So I don't know. That's strange.
This Isaac says that the sinking ship analogy is wrong, and that 1739 is actually responsible for the destruction of the alternate universe, in a way. Basically, there's an entity, unimaginable, incomprehensible, and malevolent, that is capable of consuming universes.
Oh, so it's using a laptop as a way for it to create universes, for it to, like, consume them or something? Interesting.
Or otherwise destroying them. It can travel through time and space, and constantly hungers for new universes to devour.
Like literally Galactus.
Fortunately, this entity is currently contained by 1739. This is represented by the computer animation. The dog is the entity, and most of the time it is chained up, unable to roam free. When a new date is entered and someone is sent back into the past to create a new universe, the dog is let off of the chain so that it can satiate itself by consuming the universe, in this case, represented as a ball.
Interesting.
It returns to the doghouse and is put back on the chain. This is a solution, but hardly a perfect one.
Right.
It's speculated that if the entity isn't given fresh universes to devour,
eventually it'll break out.
It will eventually break free from the chain itself. And that would definitely be a problem. So, just keep making branching timelines using D-Class, and the entity will stay content and contained, right? Well, yes and no. In theory, that will work as a continual containment procedure, and the Foundation could keep throwing D-Class at it.
Well, and also, I mean, eventually it could just break free anyway, no matter what happens. Like, you could be feeding it and just making it stronger, and eventually, maybe it just keeps growing, and eventually it just can't be contained in whatever it's currently contained in anyway. So,
Containment procedure, and the Foundation could keep throwing D-Class at it, accepting the ethical dilemma of sacrificing other universes to save our own. But the problem is that the Foundation in our timeline can never be sure when they send someone back if they're in the prime timeline or in the branching timeline.
Right, true.
Basically, every time the Foundation uses the laptop, they run the risk of becoming the branched timeline themselves, and thus their timeline and universe will be destroyed.
Interesting. So yeah, that is a very tricky little dilemma, you know? You have to keep hitting this button to satiate this universe-destroying being, otherwise they'll break containment and potentially destroy your universe. But by pushing that button, you risk the chance of you guys yourself, becoming the universe that's the divergent timeline and being eaten anyway. But by doing so, you sacrifice yourself to save others. So it almost seems like you should just do it anyway, no matter what. Because it's like, if you don't do it, eventually it'll eat and destroy whatever the prime timeline is, and then everything ceases to exist anyway. So even if you push it and you become the divergent timeline and get consumed, your sacrifice is at least keeping the prime timeline alive. You know what I mean? So it's like, it seems like a situation where you have no choice and you just kind of have to do it no matter what.
Themselves, and thus their timeline and universe will be destroyed. Because of this, the Foundation has set up Operation Smokescreen to prevent 1739 from depositing any future travelers into our universe, and all experiments with 1739 involving sending people to the past have been ceased.
What did he say?
Any future travelers. Because of this, the Foundation has set up Operation Smokescreen to prevent 1739 from depositing any future travelers into our universe, and all experiments with 1739 involving sending people to the past have been ceased.
Okay.
I've often said that many SCPs are interesting, not because of the questions that they answer, but instead the questions they ask. Who exactly made the laptop? And why did they give it to our universe?
Right.
How does the chat client work, allowing us...
I feel like it would be a situation where, like, the laptop may have been created in an alternate universe, like you said, to contain this being, and then maybe the laptop itself is actually traveling through, like, when you're hitting a button, like the laptop itself is actually jumping dimensions every time input is put into it, and it's just random as to whether or not that timeline happens to be the prime timeline or it creates a divergent one. You know what I mean? And it's just like RNG chance that the timeline that you're in becomes the divergent one, or if you stay the prime timeline or not. I don't know, it's just my theory. Anyway, let's continue with this, and I'll give more thoughts at the end here.
To communicate with other timelines. And more importantly, why did the person who made the laptop want us to be able to speak to a doomed universe?
True.
What exactly would happen if the entity broke free from its chain? And is it really being satiated forever by sacrificial universes? 1739 is a twofold problem for the Foundation now, as they would definitely be willing to sacrifice alternate universes to save their own, but they're left with a faulty containment procedure that could doom them, with no current way to solve the problem. There are many SCPs now that threaten all life on the planet or in the universe, from cosmic deer to unimaginable horrors, but SCP-1739 is a fun one, because on the surface it seems so harmless. It's often a very effective horror trope to take something mundane and inoffensive, such as a computer animation of a dog, and turn it into something horrific. I said at the start that you'd probably push that button to kill a random person instead of yourself, but if that button also had a chance to destroy the universe, you might hesitate.
True. See what we got here for a quote at the end. All right, Isaac 132. Somewhere there's a person living in a timeline where SCP-1739 never deposits a traveler from the future. This person very much does not want the Mad Dog to grow too restless. Your Foundation and your O5 Council should hope they are existing in this timeline. Isaac 13-2, stop sending people back into the past. Interesting. Interesting. Okay. So, I mean, yeah, is it a situation where by sending people back in the past, you're creating a problem, or is it... Yeah, it seems like it's almost one of those, like, you know, universal paradox issues where it's like, there's a problem, but is it is the solution to send people in the past, or is that creating the problem to begin with? You know, it's like you said, if you don't send people back and create divergent universes for this being to consume, it may eventually just break containment anyway and eat your prime one. But there's also the potential of your universe becoming the divergent universe by sending people back in the past anyway and it being destroyed. However, I guess, you know, like I said, potentially you would be sacrificing yourselves to keep the other one going. However, it could simply just be kind of a bluff situation where, you know, if you just stop sending people back, it would be its own, it would fix itself, essentially. I also wonder, like, what you could do with other SCPs to contain this. Like the Architect SCP that just keeps creating new things or whatever. Like, couldn't you, like, put this laptop right next to that thing in a box and then just, like, put that box away somewhere? And then have that thing just keep creating universe after universe after universe after universe to, like, eat or whatever and just never be able to get away. You know, it would just be trapped in this ever-evolving creating universe. Something like that. And then there's also, like, they know of ways to get the, like, I forget which one it was, what SCP it is. But that SCP that, like, changes color and, like, understands people's emotion, and then, like, it like, when you put it up to a mirror, it opens like a dimension. And then that dimension, I guess, you know, that it led to was a dimension that had these, like, large beings, and there was some kind of eldritch horror god that came and ate that world or destroyed the people. Anyway, so, like, you know, there's other dimensions that you could go to, so why not just, like, flip it off to them? Like, hey, this isn't our problem anymore. Someone else could deal with it, you know what I mean? But I guess that's also part of the nature of the SCP Foundation, is wanting to keep study it and learn. And I guess also potentially, you know, if they don't contain it and they just throw it to another universe, who's to say that it doesn't come back to them through some means in some way, you know? So who knows? I don't know. It definitely is a very tricky situation, but a very interesting story. Very interesting story. Who knows what the real solution to it is? You know, are you creating your own problem by sending people back there, or is that in fact the actual solution, and you just have to do it and keep rolling the dice and hope that RNG forever stays on your side and your universe doesn't become the divergent one that gets consumed? You know, that's a tough question. But anyway, that's gonna do it for this one, guys. Appreciate you hanging out and watching. As always, links will be down below in the description for the original video without my commentary and the Exploring Series channel. If you do me a favor, go over there. If you liked watching this video with me, go over there and give this video a like, and check out his channel. He does a lot of great content for the SCP universe as well as others. So check out his stuff, give him a sub if you want to support the guy. If you'd like to join in the discussions that I do when I do these reactions live with my YouTube members, there's a join button down below. Check out the YouTube membership benefits, see if any of those have any interest for you. I would love to have you guys come and hang out and join in the discussions that we have. But yeah, that's gonna do it for this one, guys. Appreciate you. Hope you're having a wonderful day. If you enjoyed this video, consider leaving a like and a sub. Would greatly appreciate it. It helps me, it helps the channel grow. And yeah, have a wonderful day. Take it easy.